The International Olympic Committee, IOC, on Friday revoked the Games accreditation of two Belarus team officials for their role in trying to send sprinter Kristina Tsimanouskaya back to their country against her will after she spoke out against her coaches last week. The biggest diplomatic saga of the Tokyo Olympics began last week when Tsimanouskaya called out Belarusian Olympic officials in Instagram posts for entering her in the 4x400-meter relay, an event she has no experience in, after a few other members on the team failed doping tests. The 24-year-old was scheduled to compete in the women's 200-meter heats on Monday, but she said the Belarusian head coach turned up to her room on Sunday and informed her that she would have to leave Tokyo after she criticized the team officials. After being taken to Tokyo's Haneda airport against her wishes, she refused to board the plane and sought protection from Japanese police at the airport. The sprinter told media outlets that it was made clear she would face some form of punishment for her actions. Tsimanouskaya was eventually granted a humanitarian visa by Poland and flew to Warsaw via Vienna on Wednesday. The Belarusian government under Alexander Lukashenko, described as Europe's last dictator by some, has brutally cracked down on dissent in the country following a wave of protests. The mass demonstrations were triggered last year by what opposition politicians say was a rigged election to keep the autocratic leader in power. Lukashenko also led the country's Olympic Committee since the 1990s, and his son Viktor was chosen to replace him earlier this year. Both father and son have been barred from attending the Tokyo Games over allegations of political discrimination against Belarusian athletes. The IOC said the country's leadership had failed to adequately protect athletes, and its political discrimination is contrary to the fundamental principles of the Olympic Charter. The current incident threatens to further isolate Lukashenko, who is already under several Western sanctions for cracking down on his political opponents. On Thursday, Tsimanouskaya told Reuters that her family feared she would be sent to a psychiatric ward if she went back to Belarus, and her grandmother warned her not to return. "I have always been far from politics. I didn't sign any letters or go to any protests. I didn't say anything against the Belarusian government," she said. "It may sound cruel because of all the terrible things that happened in Belarus last summer, but I was trying to keep away from it, but all I have wanted is to go to the Olympics and do my best." Two coaches removed from Tokyo Olympics in Belarus case. Associated Press, Belarusian sprinter Tsimanouskaya finally lands in Poland after asylum plea at Olympics. Forbes, Belarusian sprinter decided to defect on way to airport over safety fears, Reuters.